hearts are pounding in anticipation of what's coming up for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. It's our third round of 2020. MotoAmerica Superbikes at Road Atlanta from Braselton, Georgia. We're at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Supersport program. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, who's two-time AMA champion. Now, Jason, so far in the Supersport class, it has been Richie Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly, and they put on a spectacular show for us yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday for sure, Greg. These two guys went at it tooth and nail. They fought all the way to the bitter end of this race. And as you get a chance to look at our highlights yesterday, both Richie Escalante, he comes in here with 4 race wins in a row. And I really felt that this was an important weekend for the number 40 of Sean Dillon Kelly. About 3/4 of the way through the race, he made that pass and went back to the front. On the last lap, these two encountered traffic as they came down into turn A. Really didn't matter too much. SDK goes into turn 12 on the final lap and makes it to that short run to the finish line to get his first win of the year.
So for Sean Dillon Kelly, he proved that Richie Escalante is completely raceable. He began his season with a DNF at Road America, but since then, Jason, he's been chipping away at it, and his confidence has been building.
Yeah, no question, and he's got a tremendous team around him that have won championships in the past. This kid doesn't panic. He doesn't make mistakes. Very rarely we've seen SDK make any mistakes, and yesterday he just took it to the front with Escalante there at the end. In a moment, it looked like Richie was going to pull away, but Sean stayed nice and calm and relaxed and was able to do something with him on the last lap.
And I think the preseason jitters for Sean Dillon Kelly being the favorite, those are all behind him right now. But what about this guy, Brandon Posh? He's been third on the track a couple times. He's looking to advance up one more step.
Today's Supersport coverage is sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Sean Dillon Kelly tries to go up the inside on the brakes. Escalante sideways. SDK has the position. Now it's the run to the checkered flag. Has the M4X Star Suzuki done enough? He has. He'll take victory. What a race.
That's what we're hoping to see.
0.05. Incredible run by Sean Dillon Kelly yesterday in such a close margin of victory. And what a, I don't know. You got to really hold your breath for that pass down into turn 12, Jay.
Yeah, that's a big pass, but it was a statement race yesterday, I feel like, for Sean and Sean Dillon Kelly. I thought he did a really good job of just kind of planning what he was going to do there.
Yeah, and our very own Hannah Lopa had a chance to catch up with Sean Dillon Kelly after yesterday's race.
Greg, I've got Sean Dillon Kelly here. Sean, we have seen you make steady progress bit by bit throughout the season. Did that give you the confidence to finally go out and get your first win of the season yesterday?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, it's been building. You know, we started at Road America 1 with a crash, pretty big crash at the first race, and obviously that's always a struggle, right? When you crash out, and it was not just for one reason. It wasn't a stupid crash. It was, you know, quite a lot of things with me and the bike going on. So after that, it was just building. Road America 1, we finished with a P2, but a little far off Richie, and then Road America 2, it was closer. We were fighting, and we finished with the second race at Road America, really fighting pretty hard with Richie until we fell off the last laps. But we knew that we were building, we were getting closer, and you know, Road Atlanta, sorry, here we already started at a different way, a little bit closer in the qualifying and the practice sessions. And then we got to race time, and I knew I had, you know, a pretty good pace, but race time is race time, and it was definitely all race long, much closer. And of course, it helps with the confidence, right, to get the first win of the season, especially being a full-on fight with Richie. And it was just, you know, good feeling, good for me, and also good for the team to get this race win.
Thanks so much, Sean. We'll see you out there on the grid.
Absolutely, thank you.
Greg?
All right, Hannah, in today's office, Jason, where these Supersport riders are going to have to go to work, is such an entertaining place to be.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites for sure. It's a place that I've been coming to for years. I've seen a lot of different configurations, but you can see here on the track map, Greg, going down into that turn 1 is really a fast turn up through the S's. Turn 6 and 7 being a really important one coming on that back straightaway. A lot of action, though, happens down in turn 10, and as we saw yesterday in turn 12.
A bit more physically demanding than when we were at Road America, but it certainly can create some great racing. For Richie Escalante, he's got to figure out Sean Dillon Kelly now that Sean Dillon Kelly's closed the gap on him. Welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. The Supersport grid has done their sighting lap. They've been able to go out and take a look at the race course. And they're forming up for our quick start procedure during these COVID times. So everyone's going to take the grid, and then they're going to get them off and on their warm-up lap, and then they'll be ready to go. So how about Jason Pridmore? We take a look at the starting grid for this one.
Let's do it. Richie Escalante starting from pole position right up against Sean Dillon Kelly. Brandon Posh hoping to close that gap today. Kevin Almeida, I'll give you some rundown on what happened to him yesterday, but he's starting fourth. Jason Aguilar and Benjamin Smith will round out row 2. Very happy to say that back here on row 3, Nolan Lampkin is back out there again today after his incident yesterday in turn 5 with Lucas Silva and Max Angles Fernandez next to him. Then Nate Minster. Alejandro Thermiotis and Jarrett Desani are going to be rolling out that roll or finishing out that row. And then we've got Zaragoza, Chuck Ivey, and Austin Miller rounding out the field.
So, of course, from minus a rider or two from attrition from yesterday, but this is the grid positions they'll be lining up in.
Yeah, and I think today is a good guy to look out for is going to be Kevin Almeida. He's got pace. He's got a lot of pace, and we saw him yesterday get a good start. We saw him running up there with those 3 guys that have been dominating the podium. But last night in talking with him, he told me that he ran straight, Greg. We missed it. We didn't see it. But he ran straight in the last corner. That's why he was so far back, and he battled his way through. At the end of the race, he was actually closing in a little bit on Brandon Posh, who ended up finishing 3rd yesterday in that race. So talking with Kevin, he really feels like he can go and be up there with those first 3 guys and challenge for a podium spot.
So far this season in the Supersport class, we've had 5 riders stand on the podium. Of course, Richie Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly, who are 1-2 in the championship, are our race winners. 4 for Escalante, 1 for SDK. Brandon Posh has had a 2nd place and 3 third place. Then Jason Aguilar and Kevin Almeida are the other 2. So Kevin Almeida has a lot of potential, but it's been kind of a rocky road for Kevin Almeida since Road America Race 1, Round 1, where he was able to get 3rd spot. Let's get down to Hannah Lopa. What's going on, Hannah?
Greg, I spoke to Richie Escalante after yesterday's race, breaking his 4-race win streak. He said during the race he was feeling a little bit of vibration, but this morning in practice they refined the bike settings a little bit, and especially to help him work on corner speed. You know, so he said he's feeling very relaxed overall and actually feeling a lot less pressure to win every single race in a row now that he broke his win streak yesterday.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. I mean, the psychology of a rider changes, I think, really from weekend to weekend, depending on how confident you are with certain things. And, you know, Richie and Sean Dillon Kelly, they're going to just be battling each other all year. So after you get that first race under the belt, if you finish 2nd, you can hardly wait to get going the next day because you've talked to your crew about trying to make an improvement on your motorcycle to get it right. The thing is, the guy who won is doing the same thing with his crew. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see what changes were made overnight, if any at all, between these guys. And I'm sure there was something. And we'll see who's going to come out on top.
We know that for the front row, front tire selection is the same. In the middle, Sean Dillon Kelly going with that super soft front tire versus the extra soft of Richie Escalante and Brandon Posh. Here we go, race 2, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. It's time to get this Supersport race underway. Listen to those revs climb when that red light comes on. We're off and running, and a good launch by Richie Escalante and Brandon Posh.
Really good launch there, and Almeida from the 2nd row. But it looks like Posh is going to lead him down into turn 1. Sean Dillon Kelly didn't get a great jump, but obviously got through the gears really nicely. But he's getting passed on both sides going up the hill. So maybe SDK went in there 1 gear taller than he normally would because Almeida and Escalante rode on either side of him and drove by him up the hill.
Jason Aguilar, the 96, in 5th place. Here's the 21, Brandon Posh. Out of Brooklyn, New York, Celtic HSBK Racing. You can see the weather top of your screen, a little cooler than yesterday, 86 degrees. And some cloud cover on different parts of the racetrack, keeping some of the asphalt here a little cooler. So Posh trying to learn from what he had yesterday. He had a good launch yesterday, then got swallowed up, Jason.
He did, and I think that the frustration there for Brandon is he knows he can run with these guys, and you can see he's got a small gap as they come out of turn 7 on this opening lap. And he should be far enough away, Greg, where they won't be able to do anything with him down into turn 10. As you can see, SDK goes by Almeida, so Almeida has made that jump. And look who else is trying to come along with him, the 96 of Jason Aguilar, as these guys roll into turn 10 on their opening lap.
Look at SDK. Oh, he stands Escalante up, so he'll grab 2nd for the moment. A brave move, and it pays off.
Battle lines are being drawn early here from SDK. I said this is a statement weekend for him, and so far he's doing that. You can see Escalante's bike snaking around all over the place as they come down into turn 12.
Ooh. Kevin Almeida, the 16, up and out of the saddle on acceleration coming out of turn 12. No dramas, but he'll lose a bike length or two.
Yeah, and that's, I was interested to see if Escalante was going to go stuff it right up, back up underneath Sean Dillon Kelly as they went into turn 1. Right now, Brandon Posh doing a great job from that standing start and opening up ever such a slight gap. Half a second on that first lap. I know it doesn't seem like much, but when it's not one of these two guys opening up that gap, it is pretty good. So right now, Brandon Posh setting sail out in front, trying to just run good, solid, clean laps while these tires are new.
Sean Dillon Kelly on that blue and red Suzuki GSXR 600 M4 X-Star Suzuki. And then you have Richie Escalante on that Honos Kawasaki. And look at Almeida behind them, just trying to make up a little bit of ground after that miscue in turn 12. Jason, down into 10A.
Yeah, and you can see Escalante's already made the decision that he's going to stay behind Brandon, and SDK had some, Richie Escalante was staying behind Brandon. SDK just made the decision very early that he was going to try to go up underneath him, and he did just that, Greg. But now Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly are side by side. This is what Brandon would hope would be happening behind him. SDK, look how good he is on the brakes, Greg. He's going to try. I thought he was going to have a go up Brandon there.
And his bike looks so stable under braking.
Yes, that was the next thing I was going to say.
And that is just a weapon for SDK 40, a tool in the toolbox. You can see that both the Suzuki and the Kawasaki look a little quicker on the back straightaway than Posh on the R6. Posh able to break free in the turn 1 through 7 area of this racetrack.
And now Jason Aguilar's made a move past Almeida. So that's Jason Aguilar. He's trying to get closer to these three guys as well. And I know that every race so far this year, Jason's been trying to just chip away at getting closer with these lead three as they roll into the S's. The two guys behind him now caught up. 29.7 for Brandon Posh that lap. 29.4 and 5 for the two guys right behind him.
Yeah, and just behind these 5 is Lucas Silva, who's having a great run back in 6th spot. Out of turn 5 they go, up and over the wheelie hill. What could play in Brandon Posh's favor is if Richie Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly start to rough each other up. But watch this. Notice the gap coming into turn 7, and watch how these motorcycles are going to run down that Yamaha R6.
Pretty impressed with Brandon's pace through those S's and stuff. He opens up a gap before they get to 6, and let's see what happens when they start coming down this back straightaway. Now Sean Dillon Kelly is going to be feeling that draft, as will Escalante. SDK is going to put himself in a good spot to go up underneath Brandon as they get down to turn 10.
Draft and pass 3 wide, they go into 10A. Escalante trying to outbreak SDK 40, but it's Sean Dillon Kelly who will go to the front. What a move, that bike looking so great now. Will Brandon Posh try to make the SDK signature move from yesterday? He moves towards the inside. Nope, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, M4 X-Star Suzuki, Celtic HSBK Racing, and Honos Kawasaki.
Yeah, and these two guys, they all know each other pretty well by now, and you can see Escalante wanted to get by, but now it's going to be Brandon's turn to follow SDK down through these S's and see exactly what he has. And Brandon looks really strong up through here when he's leading, so shouldn't be too hard for him to kind of hang with SDK. Oh, he ran over that paint really tight there, almost into the grass.
Sometimes difficult to see when you're out front and get your clean line, Jason. It's hard to see around the rider in front of you occasionally.
It is a great point, and especially up there because you're getting a little bit slower. And you look here on the left, these guys are 3 wide going down in there, but you nailed it earlier, Greg. You know, Sean Dillon Kelly's bike looks so planted and stable underneath him, and there's really nothing quite like coming to a track like Atlanta and having a bike that breaks and have it so stable. You feel like you can just kind of go past everybody.
Right part of your screen, live pictures as we go full. Sean Dillon Kelly gets by Brandon Posh a lap ago, and Posh is not giving him anything. But it's this back straightaway. See, this is where we wanted to see, because Posh gets gobbled up, but he gets gobbled up in the slipstream. So you can see that the Yamaha R6 has some legs. Posh thought he was going to make a move, but it's going to be Richie Escalante up the side of Brandon Posh. Can Escalante hold on to it? He does. So there goes Richie Escalante trying to make a move around and outside. Now watch the difference in braking. Whoa, Escalante getting sideways down the hill.
Yeah, and if you watch the way Escalante grabs the front brake, he really hammers it initially. And so that's why the bike gets so light in the rear so early, and you see the bike moving around on him now. Just behind these guys, Aguilar has gone 29.2 that lap. Fastest lap of the race to Jason Aguilar in 4th place. He is coming after these 3 guys the best he can. Now, Posh is going to be able to get in this draft down the back straightaway. And if Aguilar can do the same, you're going to end up with 4 guys rolling into turn 10. Aguilar's awful fast up through that top section. You can see he's closed up on these guys.
Looked like Richie Escalante's rear tire went through the dirt. You can see some dirt getting kicked up. Ooh, Escalante, he actually slipped a little bit of sliding on the front end heading into 5.
Just a little wide at the apex was Escalante. It didn't hurt him too bad, though.
On the brakes into 6. Really fun corner, a lot of camber there. You can carry a tremendous amount of speed. And to the ever important turn number 7. Look at the 96. Now it's Jason Aguilar in the Riders Law. Aguilar Racing Yamaha R6. He's so close to Brandon Posh. Didn't quite get the drive he needed. Now they're side by side in the straightaway.
You can see, right there, Escalante had his left hand off the handlebar. Looked like he was just trying to get some blood flow as Sean Dillon Kelly goes back up underneath him. But it looked like sometimes you'll get arm pump down through those S's. So we'll keep an eye on Escalante because it looked like he had his left hand off the bar, just was moving his hand around trying to get some blood circulating.
The other thing I saw too, Jason, was he was actually adjusting that brake lever. Yep. So on the left side, there's a knob you can turn because it looks like maybe Richie Escalante needs a little bit more in the lever. Jason Aguilar had a good drive, but spun a little bit coming out of there. Here comes Escalante. No. Hannah, what do you have on Jason Aguilar?
Something I thought was pretty interesting about Jason Aguilar when we spoke earlier is that he has not changed any of the settings on his bike at all since Road America. He's feeling very comfortable with the setup and really just focusing on his riding and on himself.
Yeah, and I think that's a great attitude to have, Hannah. I think a lot of these guys have ridden at such a high level that they can differentiate what is actually something with the bike. And a lot of times, if you're a second or 2 off and you're not really feeling like you're riding that well, if you start adjusting a motorcycle to your 1 or 2 second off pace, you'll end up going full circle and back to where you need to get to. So he's probably on a setup here at Atlanta that he's very familiar with. Obviously, if he ran the same thing at Road America, but he's had success in our 600 classes for years. So Jason knows what he wants and what he likes. And like you said yesterday, Greg, he hasn't been able to really train. He hasn't been able to really do the things that Jason likes to do simply because of what's been going on in the world and working. Working, you know. But we know Aguilar can run up at the front. Escalante is going to lead down into turn 10 for, I believe, his first time, Greg. So now it's going to be his turn to make a break. I'm really liking so far that we've got this close group together coming up on lap, what is this going to be, lap 7 of 13, I believe, or 18.
Yeah, so Richie Escalante into turn number 12. We saw this kind of yesterday. He got a little bit of a gap on SDK right about this part of the race, and then Sean Dillon Kelly was able to figure some things out. But right now, Richie Escalante is trying to get out front and break away from the pack he's been racing with, and it's working for the moment.
Wow, right now he's opened up as big a gap as we have seen, and Brandon is closed right up on the back of Sean Dillon Kelly as they go up in here to these S's again. And you can see all these guys cutting that curbing on the right very, very close. So now we're going to see, is it going to 29-1? I was just going to say, are we going to see Escalante stretch it out to where these guys are, you know, where he's going to be down in the 28s? And this could be the lap where that happens. He has gone purple on our screen. So he's done the fastest first split of the race. And this, you know, yesterday when we saw this example, same thing that was happening. Sean Dillon Kelly he reacted pretty quickly, but he was able to react. So right now, this gap is as big as we've seen in 2 days.
Qualifying time was a 28.4. So in qualification setup, we know that Richie Escalante is capable of running in the 28s, but that's when you get to pull back into the pits after a fast lap, and you've got to be thinking about the tire. But Escalante is ripping off an impressive lap time right now. Sean Dillon Kelly, like Jason's talking about, right now, with 12 laps to go, SDK doesn't have an answer for Richie Escalante as he sends the Honos Kawasaki front wheel in the air, heading towards turn 12. So here comes Escalante to the line. This will give us a good idea. A 28.7, Jason, just like you were talking about. 29.2, the answer for Sean Dillon Kelly and Posh.
And Posh with a 29.2, and you can see that was just enough. As soon as Escalante gets to the front, it fragmentates this group that's up in the front here. Aguilar's falling off the back at a 29, what did he do, 29.8 that time. So when you can see these guys just start to drop the hammer in front of you and you're already pushing as hard as you can, you have to take a seat back and go, okay, I've had to go, and that's what's happened with Jason right now. Posh, on the other hand, is still trying to stick on the back of SDK the best that he can. You know, Greg, when you're in the position that SDK's in, if you see Escalante start getting away, it's really hard to keep your motivation up. Like, you want to keep chasing, But it's really, at that point, what you really see in somebody as far as keeping their motivation up if they can ride with that person in front of them. And that's what Brandon's got to use right now and pace himself a little bit off of SDK.
Escalante's ripping right now, isn't he, Hannah?
He is running away with it right now, Greg. And when I spoke to him earlier, he told me himself he loves to lead. Jason even said it yesterday. But he did also tell me that when he is racing in a pack, his riding style changes a little bit. So, Jason, from your vantage point, when he was in that group a little bit earlier on in this race, did you notice his riding style change from then till now that he's out front?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. At the beginning of this, when he was behind, a lot of times Richie has a tendency to look really frantic to me. And yesterday I felt that again, just like I did at Road America. When he was following these guys earlier in this race, he almost looked a little bit more patient, almost like he knows that nobody can really get away from him, and he's got pace. And right now, this is the best personally I've seen him look all year.
Yeah, the bike looks a lot more stable.
Yes.
When he's out front. It's like he's able to do the lap time he wants to do his own way, and so he's not having to stab those brakes and unsettle the front and the rear end of this Kawasaki ZX6R.
Well, he goes 28.7 and then he goes 28.8 to back that lap time up. And the two guys behind him now are both in the 28s as well. So the fact that they've gone 28.7, 28.9 is really good. As we go a little bit further back to 5th place, Lucas Silva. So he's rolling around right now 6th place. He's in the low 31s is Lucas right now with a best time for him of a 30.6.
M4X Star Suzuki rider doing a great job is Lucas Silva, having one of his best finishes. And of course, Lucas Silva sitting 6th place in the points. He did have a 5th place finish at our second race, and he was able to back it up with a 6th yesterday. So Lucas Silva just hanging right around the top 5 in Supersport so far this season. As we're getting close to the halfway point of this race, a good look at the 88, Benjamin Smith out of Glenmore, PA, on the Northeast Cycle Outlet Racing Yamaha R6. Yep. And Benjamin Smith has had definitely some ups and downs in his MotoAmerica career.
No, he has. Oh. He's going to keep going. Max Engels was looking down almost like he had a problem, wasn't he?
Yeah, I saw his head bob there like he was upset about something.
He's shaking his head, too. Is it brakes also with him? We've seen this a lot this weekend with a few of the different riders through the paddocks, that their brakes aren't working as well as they'd like. We've seen it in Superstock this weekend, 1000, and you can see he is making an adjustment to that lever right now, or trying to, shaking his head and bummed out. As you can see, Nolan Lampkin, who we talked about at the beginning of the show, Nolan had a big accident yesterday, Greg, coming out of turn 5. He actually sent me a video of that accident. It looked like from a fan's perspective, just outside of turn 5, and it was a violent high side that Nolan is coming back from. He's got a beat up knee. I saw him just before the race. His legs a little bit beat up and things, but they were able to get that bike back together and get him out there today to try to get some points. And right now he's in 9th, but with Max having some issues, it looks like 8th place is going to be his in a minute here shortly.
Yeah, with the characteristics of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, it really demands a lot from the brake system on these motorcycles. Add to it the fact that we're here now this time of the summer as opposed to normally in the springtime, and a lot of riders have experienced some type of brake fade. So Max Engels falls victim to Benjamin Smith, who's looking dialed in. Last time by the stripe, Benjamin Smith able to go 31.3, his best lap of the race, a 30.8. So out front, Richie Escalante has an 0.8 of a second lead over Sean Dillon Kelly, and Richie Escalante just set the fastest lap of the race, a 28.644 to Sean Dillon Kelly's 29.1. So there's a half a second swing in favor of Escalante.
This could be a reason why he was a little bit more patient at the beginning. If he knew that he could just sort of drop into the 28s at will, look how fast he looks up through there. I mean, he looked like he just cleaned that section as good as you can. And but when you know that you've got something in your pocket, they've probably made some changes to this motorcycle overnight. And Richie just looks really fast right now up through those S sections. I'm looking up on our screen right now, 34.2. He's gained 0.3 just in the first split on this lap, Greg. So 28s are a place that he can live by. And when he gets out of this weekend, if he was to go ahead and win this race, him and Sean are going to split points. There's been no real closure to his points lead, so it'll be a great weekend for the whole Hanos Racing team.
Richie Escalante came from the Yamaha R6, a more compact package, and getting on this Kawasaki ZX6R, the tall rider from Mexico, it's able to open him up a little bit more. And one of the first things that he thought about when he got to ride a couple laps on the Kawasaki ZX6R is the fact that it's more comfortable for him. And Jason, oftentimes we know that more comfort translates to more speed. Let's get down to Hannah, who has more on Sean Dylan Kelly.
Sean Dylan Kelly told me that he feels the strongest, especially in the first half of the S's and coming out of the very last corner. The question is, Greg and Jason, will that be enough to close this gap and catch back up to Richie Escalante?
Well, Hannah, I'm just looking to see the lap times right now, and even on that lap there, he's lost another half second, so he's 1.7 back. That said, they're still both in the same picture. We got 7 laps to go, and it really just depends on if he can kind of stabilize this gap. Gives you a lot of confidence as a rider if you see that gap stabilize, and then you can start chipping away at trying to make it. But if Escalante gets this out to 2.5 seconds prior to, let's say, 5 to go, it's going to be really hard work for STK to close that gap back up, in my opinion.
M4X Star Suzuki, Sean Dylan Kelly, wheel in the air. Turn number 6, halfway through Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Things are spread out. SDK 40 now, 1.7 behind Richie Escalante, and then another 1.3 adrift is Brandon Posh. And then Jason Aguilar has dropped back 3.7 behind Posh. So really what broke this race apart was when Escalante got out front and started to drop the hammer and drop those lap times. And Escalante just looks, the attitude, the body position of the bike, and the way the bike looks into corners is just so much different right now.
It's pretty funny because we're thinking exactly the same thing here right now. There's Brandon getting into turn 10, but when you look at Escalante right now, every movement he makes looks a little bit better. You can see Brandon's getting bucked up out of the seat as they come out of turn B, or turn 10B rather, and but Brandon's doing a good job too. He's closed that distance. This time yesterday, Greg, he was a lot further back, and he's 4.2 off the lead. He's pretty consistently in the 29s with the best of 28s. So you can see here he's going to have L5 on his board next time Escalante comes through. That gap's gone from 1.7 again, Greg, to 2.2. So STK is losing about half a second a lap right now.
So Sean Dylan Kelly, after an incredible race finish yesterday and a lot of work with he and his crew overnight to make the bike just a little bit better. You know, Jason, that's really one of the things, okay? So when you start to analyze what's going on a Supersport machine or any motorcycle, when you're trying to make any type of improvement, sometimes you can do something to upset the good parts of your motorcycle. And that's one of the things that he and his M4X Star Suzuki crew were trying to avoid. Austin Miller on the 61 with Chuck Ivey and Zaragoza. The battle for 13th place we're keeping an eye on as they come out of turn number 12. So Chuck Ivey's getting the better of Austin Miller for the moment. 35-2 for this group.
At least these guys got a battle going on back here, and I think Zaragoza's doing double duty this weekend, because I believe I saw him out there on 1,000 as well in Superstock 1,000 class. So he's what's he running, Greg? 4 Superstock 1,000 races and a couple of 600 races on the weekend. He's going to be a pretty tired guy at the end of the week.
Yeah, you would think so. Chuck Ivey, the 18 out of Augusta, Georgia, on the Team Velocity Racing Yamaha R6, and Austin Miller, the 61 out of Godwin, North Carolina, on the Miller Racing ZX6R. Trying to hold off the advances of Edgar Zaragoza. Zaragoza, of course, on the 27. Out of Mexico on the Easy Racing Yamaha R6, where his countryman is up the road a bit.
He had to go right there, turn 7.
Escalante, his countryman, yeah, good moves. You can see the 61, Austin Miller, starting to, yeah, you can see his hands off.
He stood him up there in turn 7, so now he wants to try to go after and chase Chuck Ivey down.
About 4.5 laps remain in this race as Escalante has set a drift 2.7 seconds ahead of Sean Dylan Kelly as we continue to watch Edgar Zaragoza. And into the middle of the field to 52, Nolan Lampkin in 8th place. Behind him, it looks like Nate Minster.
Nate came in here in 2nd in points, didn't he?
4th in points.
4th, sorry, he was 2nd after round 1, and then after round 2, he was 4th in points. So you can see he's got N2 sponsoring him here. Coming down from Wisconsin, where he had some great results up at Road America. And so now he's there at Road Atlanta, and he's battling with Nolan. And it looks like Max Angles did fall off the back of these guys, Greg, so he did have trouble. But
yeah, I think for Max Angles, he's just trying to hold on to 10th position, which would net him 6 points in the championship. Now, Jason, you know, if we look around this field, there aren't too many super close battles. When you're this deep into it in the heat in Georgia, how difficult is it to keep your focus?
No, it's I mean, look, everybody trains, everybody works out, or hopefully these guys are doing that at home. You see Nolan's getting shot up out of the seat. He's riding a little bit injured. You can see, we've got, let me see what's going on. That's usually flag down there, Greg. Anyways, you know, these guys are training as hard as they can during their off weeks, and but the heat here, it can zap you. That said, it's not as bad as it was yesterday. I felt like yesterday was a lot hotter, and the heat just wasn't moving around. It just felt like you were in a bowl. So here we go with Jarrett Desani as well, coming up over the top of the hill with, there's Max Angles again. So Max is just kind of slowly, unfortunately, this issue that he's got, you can tell. You know, Max has put in some really good rides at some tracks that we've gone to. But, you know, obviously you can see here he's got a problem. But Jarrett Desani's another young guy that we've been watching for a few years now, come up from Junior Cup. But yeah, Greg, the heat is definitely a factor. But as a rider, I think that you just got to go into it and just almost got to fake like it's not there, and you just go and take care of your business.
59, Jarrett Desani out of Altus, Oklahoma on the Altus Motorsports Suzuki GSXR 600, having a good go at it. And so far for the 59, best results have been 9th place for Jarrett Desani, so he's just one off of that. He's had that position, 9th place, 3 times so far this season, including yesterday's race.
Yeah, and he's a fair bit behind Nate and Nolan right now, so he's just going to keep trying to plug away, go forward, and his teammate is obviously Kevin Almeida, who's up there in 5th place right now, as we see that the leaders have gone through. There's 3 to go for the leaders right now.
And don't forget, Jason, next week we show up at Pittsburgh International Race Complex. And so it's all so important for these riders that are back there to make sure that they continue to get as much laps at speed and data as they can.
How about this guy went 28.66 on his last lap, fastest of his race. So he's opened up 4.5 seconds now. So, you know, he's going to come to 2 laps to go with about a 5-second lead. And honestly, the bike looks really good today. The bike looks really good.
And, you know, that's the advantage of going to a place like Road America twice. You know, you get that thing dialed in, but then you come here to Road Atlanta, and there are different characteristics here, and you're going to have a little bit of a different setup. And keep in mind, you know, this is a new motorcycle for them this season, for the Honos team and for Richie Escalante. So the learning curve is pretty steep in this one. So Escalante into turn 1.
Not just that, but, you know, we haven't really seen a proper team, you know, get their hands on one of these motorcycles, these 636 Kawasaki's. Because like you say, Greg, they've been around. People have been racing them. But, you know, when you get the Graves involvement along, again, with a great crew and a great rider, this is kind of what you start to see. So yesterday, the big changes that were made to this motorcycle, whatever they might have been, made the big difference. Back-to-back weekends at Road America, they came out of the chute pretty good in round 1 there. Round 2, they tried a couple of little different things. I think ended up eventually going back to where they were. And then they came here yesterday, and they've probably made some adjustments overnight. And this is what you're seeing happen now.
You know, Friday after free practice 1, I got to sit in the debrief with Richie Escalante and his crew. And Richie had asked for something very specific to be changed on the motorcycle. And the conversation was, well, Richie, you're not on a Yamaha R6 anymore, which has a lot of, well, throttle-by-wire system is a good example. It's digitally, you know, enhanced, where the Kawasaki itself is actually still controlled with a cable to the throttle body. And so there are those little things that Richie's learning, like what you're asking for, we can't accomplish the way you think because you've been coming off of a Yamaha R6 after all those years. And so they're working with Richie to understand what he has available for him with that Kawasaki ZX6R underneath him. And obviously with yesterday's race, Richie Escalante put his head down with his crew and have shown how incredible their pace can be here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Working the final lap for the 54, Honos rider Richie Escalante. Down into the famous S as they go, working through some lap traffic. Escalante has it all in his hands now. All he's got to do is just clean the rest of this lap. Into turn 5, up and over the hill, the gap back to M4X Star Suzuki's. Sean Dillon Kelly. He's had a good run at it, Jason, but the 5 points that he gained on Richie Escalante yesterday, he lost it. So for these two riders, this weekend nets them 0-point difference. That's not what SDK and his crew wanted to see.
And here comes Brandon, third. He's going to be a lot closer today, though, Greg, than yesterday. At least, I mean, it's definitely closer to Brandon than he was. But this guy dropped the hammer today, and this race was a lot faster. I'm sure when we go look at the overall race times, today's race is going to be quicker because he dropped into the low 28s, or I'm sorry, mid 28s, and stayed there for quite a few laps here in the middle of the race.
Yeah, including a couple laps ago, this guy was able to put together a lap that was only 0.02 of a second off of his fastest. Down into the final corner, Richie Escalante on the gas and to the checkered flag as it flies, and he will take victory in race number 2 at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Sean Dillon Kelly safely across the line in second spot. And here comes the 21 of Brandon Posh. Celtic HSBK Racing's Yamaha R6 for another podium finish for Posh. That's going to be his 5th of the season. Congratulations all around, as Escalante had a bit of work to do at the beginning of this one, Jason. But once he was able to clear off, he set the pace and no one else could match it.
No, he was very very defiant today in being patient to start with, it looked like. And then once when he got to the front and he had that clean air out in front of him where there was nobody around him and he could just kind of run, that's exactly what he did. So it's going to feel good for him to make up those 5 points that he lost yesterday. And for him and the Hanos team, I mean, that's win number 5 on the season. So they're kind of proving that they can win in certain spots. I think next week, you know, we're going to go to a couple tracks here, Pittsburgh, the Ridge coming up, that don't have any, the characteristics of the racetrack are different than the first 2 that we've had this year. And it'll be interesting to see. I think there'll be more people closer to everybody at the front.
So it's Escalante, Sean Dillon Kelly, Brandon Posh, Jason Aguilar in 4th, Kevin Olmedo in 5th, Lucas Silva in 6th. A good result for Lucas Silva as he continues to work on his speed. Then Benjamin Smith in 7th, Nate Minster, Nolan Lampkin. Max Angles gets around Jarrett Desani on the last lap. So Max Angles will get 10th, Desani in 11th, Alejandro Thermiotis in 12th. Zaragoza in 13th place ahead of Chuck Ivey and Austin Miller, that battle that we saw back there. So for this 25-year-old from Mexico, in his 5th season in MotoAmerica competition, Richie Escalante is on point. I wonder how it was for him. We'll get to find out when we come back.
Today's Supersport race coverage has been sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, where Supersport race action. Race number 2 has concluded. Here's a look at those results as Richie Escalante will have a 6.4 second margin of victory over Sean Dillon Kelly. Then you have about 7 seconds back to Brandon Posh. Then Aguilar, who early on, when the pace was a little bit slower, was getting right in the mix. And I'm sure that Aguilar is going to have a ton of data to look at tonight. And Olmedo and back through the field. As you can see that Jarrett Desani finishing 11th. Let's get right down to Victory Lane and Hannah.
Richie Escalante is back on the top step of the box. Richie, you were in an intense battle pretty early on there. How were you able to put your head down, focus, and eventually set sail on the rest of the field?
Yeah, I'm starting really good though today. A little bit better to compare yesterday. Sean very strong in the first laps, Brandon too. Today I'm feeling better. I wake up, I'm feeling better, so I learning so many things yesterday behind Sean. He's very fast rider, very talented, and yeah, today really happy, you know. Thanks to We Are Honors, Grace Kawasaki to give me this excellent bike, and yeah, I'm really happy. So it's time to go to Pittsburgh, only 3 days, so I'm ready.
Now, you don't have much of a break between now and Pittsburgh. What's your plan to kind of take up this space during the week and to prepare for next weekend?
Yeah, first I need to drive to Pittsburgh and then maybe a couple training. I'm really happy right now with the bike. It's another different track to compare this. So I think the bike is ready, so happy to win today and go to Pittsburgh.
Congratulations to Richie Escalante, today's race winner. Let's get over to Jamie.
For Sean Dillon Kelly, coming home on the podium, yes, that's great for the points, but he was leading this race at one point in time. Richie says he learned a lot behind you yesterday. What are your thoughts on your finishing position based off the performance?
Yeah, it was a really good race. First of all, hats off to Richie and their team. They really did a good job from yesterday to today. We definitely made a step up. You know, this morning we had good pace. We had good pace in the race as well, but it just wasn't enough for Richie today. We definitely pushed and we tried, but you know, we just need to keep on working. I think we're going in the right direction. Overall, you know, we got our first win of the season yesterday, and today, you know, we're still fighting. So we still have things to work on, but nothing. We just need to keep on pulling away like this, and just give a huge thank you to the whole M4XR Suzuki team for all their work. My crew chief, my trainer Michael Torres, Jeremy Toy, all my mechanics. Thank you to them. Thank you, Chris and John Orich, and thanks to my team.
I saw Michael Torres, your coach, as you mentioned, was the first one over here to talk to you. What was that conversation like right after this race?
We have a lot of conversations. We're quite close. He's not only my trainer. So yeah, we know that attitude is everything, so we just need to keep on moving forward, even though, you know, we clearly want the win, but we learned from everything. I know I gave my 100%, so that's all that counts, and we're just moving forward from here.
A lot of good to take away. Let's go back to Hannah.
Thank you.
It is Brandon Posh's third podium of the season and his third place finish in a row. Brandon, despite having a last kind of lonely few laps there, you were in the battle really early on. Are you happy overall with your performance here today?
Yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with how the whole weekend went, to be honest. Being that close today, at least in the beginning anyways, and learning from these guys is great. And huge shout out to my teammate PJ for all the help over the weekend. And yeah, just fresh and lean, Arai, Speedy, Evolve GT Track Days, Celtic HSBK, Yamaha, everybody that's helping us out. It means a lot. So see you guys next week.
A short few days until the race at Pittsburgh. What are you looking to change, if anything, or do differently in the next race?
To be honest, with the bike, I'm not sure, but I know I'm going to go get a nice massage and relax for the next couple of days.
Sounds like a plan. Congratulations, Brandon Posh, our third place finisher.
Well, Jason, a lot of different plans between these riders after a very long and steamy weekend here. Look at the championship points. Sean Dylan Kelly 40 adrift, just like he was when he got here. Posh 61 back, and Aguilar in the mix. We're just witnessing something with Richie Escalante that is so incredibly impressive, Jason. So this race just happened. Let's take a look at these highlights. Jay, talk us through them, because it wasn't the easiest for Escalante at the beginning.
No, for sure. And you can see SDK makes a very late move on him here on the very first lap of the race as Brandon Posh got off to an early start. But also, when you sit there and you look at where Escalante is, he was able to kind of chip away at things here and make it to where he could get up to the front, but he was very patient doing so. As you can see, SDK here now has got underneath. These guys went 3 wide down into turn 10A. Escalante here goes underneath Brandon Posh, and he was just kind of taking his time and picking these guys off, Greg, in my opinion. And they went down the back straightaway. He pulls up alongside SDK and gets far enough in front where he could kind of dictate what was going to happen when they got down into turn 10. And then from that point on, he started running laps in the mid-28s that just nobody else could run with. He was particularly fast in that first sector and was gaining a lot of time as he came across the line. You could see how excited he was to pick up his 5th win of the year.
Yeah, Jason, the thing, though, that I'm looking at with Richie Escalante, if we watch what Sean Dylan Kelly was able to do with him yesterday, and you watch the attitude of the Kawasaki when he was out on his own, was that they've got to figure out a way to race him, because I think that Richie Escalante is raceable if you can control the pace.
No question. And I think that as he continues to develop as a rider, Richie's only going to get better. Today, he did show that patience that I hadn't seen in previous races. He always looked like he was just a little bit frantic at the start and always was thinking, I got to lead, I got to lead. Today, he let it come to him a little bit. Then when he got that clear air, he was off and running. Really
excited to see what happens at Pittsburgh International Race Complex, or Pit Race, in a week's time, because such a dramatically different racetrack than we have here at Michelin Raceway.
Yeah, it's got a lot of elevation like this place, but different. Turn 1 there is a really interesting corner. You can't see the apex of it when you come up over the top. It's got a really neat flowing S's. So it's not going to be as high speed as we've seen in our first 2 rounds at Road America and Road Atlanta. And I think that there's going to be some guys like Brandon Posh, Kevin Almeida, that are going to feel like they can take a little bit more of a shot at some of the guys at Sean Dylan Kelly and Richie Escalante.
Yeah, and Jason, also having a little peek at the forecast, because, you know, we're just a few days away at this point. It looks like it's going to be sunny, but in the low to mid 80s, which also is going to do some things for traction as well. And it's going to, the way that the bike gets set up. One of the biggest things that riders were talking about here at Road Atlanta was the fact that late in the race with the track temperature that the tires were getting a little bit greasy. And so the fact that when they get a little greasy, you don't have as much confidence, it doesn't give you as much ability to charge and go after someone.
Well, the track temperature's coming down. Not only that, the air temperature comes down, the bikes will run better. We've seen a lot of teams this week that not only have had tire issues, Dunlop's done such a good job. I think that's going to come down to setup and the heat. The second thing is going to be that we've seen a lot of people with brake issues and things. So the brake issues, I think, will go away up there as well.
Yeah,
so Pittsburgh is a great place to go to watch a race. So I'm looking forward to getting up there.
So for Richie Escalante, he gets to celebrate another victory and a little bit of momentum as we head off to pit race in a couple of days. Great race action here for Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Supersport race number 2 in the books for Hannah Lopa, Jamie Howe, and Jason Pridmore. I'm Greg White. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next weekend.
Yeah!